So for problem number 8, this was probably the most difficult problem, and it really tripped some students up. Part of the reason it did is because the word problem says that for some reserved seat tickets for a football game, there's a cost of $4 each, and general admission tickets cost $3 each. After the game is over, the turnstile count shows that there's 1,787 people that attended the game. And the total receipts price shows that there was $5,792 in revenue. And then they say find the total of each kind of ticket. Well, the problem is that we have two types of tickets that we need to answer, and we don't know much about them in terms of actual numbers that were sold. So the first thing you need to do is to define two variables. Now, a lot of people decided to use X and Y. You didn't have to use X and Y. Some people decided that they wanted to use the first letter. So for example, for reserved seats, people used the letter R, and then for general seats, they used the letter G. You use what letters make sense for you. But the more important part is that when you say X or R, you need to actually say what does it mean. So in this case, R could be the number of reserved. It would help if I spelled reserved right. Reserved seats. And G could be the number of general seats. Now, if we think about the number of seats, every time a seat is sold, that means that there's going to have to be a person in that seat. And I can see that there were 1,787 people. So looking at it from that perspective, we can say if I take the number of seats that were reserved plus the number of seats that were general seats, it should equal the total number of seats that had people. So this was the first equation that we should get. Now, just to kind of label these equations, I'm going to call this the counting equation, and that's the one that just counted everyone. Well, the other equation that I can come up with is my money equation. If we think about the cost of each of these, it says right here that this $3 cost is for general admissions. So that means that my general admissions tickets each will make me $3. And then my reserved tickets cost $4. So for every reserved ticket, it makes me $4. And if I add these money amounts together, the amount of money that I make from reserved tickets plus the amount of money that I make from general tickets, it should be equal to all of the money that was earned. So this is actually the beginning of the setup for the system of equations, and that should be what gets you this checkbox right here. This was actually 2 points. The rest of these are each 1 point. So if you can pick up the problem from this setup right here, you should be able to solve it the rest of the way and find out how many reserved tickets there were, how many general tickets there were, and then the other big thing to note is that right here at the very end it says indicate with words which value is which type of ticket. So what that means is that it's not just enough to get to the end and say R is equal to a number and G is equal to a number. So you can't just say R equals and then have an answer and G equals and have an answer. You actually have to write a sentence that says what does R mean, what does G mean, and use numbers while you're writing that sentence.